Remember, this show is available on both YouTube and Spotify. And before we begin, a word from our sponsor. This podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. They can get you access to equipment, a production engineer, and even edit your podcast. That's all right here at the Mitt TV of Romeo. And you can contact them right now via email at mitt.tvromeo@gmail.com. That's mitt.tv@gmail.com. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Romeo Sports Recap Show. Today on the Recap Show, I have former head coach of the Romeo Bulldogs, Greg Ganfield, and longtime coach here in the Romeo area and other areas, Coach Paul Murphy. And fellas, welcome to the Recap Show.
Thank you.
Ask you both, how the heck did you get started coaching football, and what piqued your interest about it? Greg?
Well, you know, I grew up in a family that really followed football. We had season tickets to the Lions, and we'd go to the Michigan State games, and I just, you know, kind of accumulated a love for it. Then started playing, obviously, in high school, and just really enjoyed it, and, you know, all of the different aspects of it, competing and, you know, the planning and whatnot. And that's kind of how it all came about.
And when did you start at Romeo?
I started in Romeo in 1971.
Okay, that's last century.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that you're still here with us.
Well, so am I.
And Paul, when did you?
Well, I started out, in 79 was my first year. You know, I wasn't doing anything and would show up at practice, and they just started giving me stuff to do with Larry Dunn. And so
And they
I just
kept going.
got the bug, and that was it.
Now you had also coached. Both of you have coached at other high schools. Greg, you were at Pontiac High School for a while. Tell us a little about that experience.
Well, initially, when I retired from Romeo, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I coached down there at South Mecklenburg High School for 5 years. And then some personal family things necessitated us coming back to Michigan. And it was kind of ironic. My wife at the time was having radiation therapy at Crittenton. We were living in an apartment across the street because our home down there hadn't sold. And I went into the grocery store one day and ran into Tarleton Small, who you probably know had been the AD at Northern. He was explaining they were going to merge the two schools together, and they'd interviewed some people and this and that, and asked me to end up interviewing, and I did and got the job. And, you know, a lot of people thought I was crazy. I wasn't too sure myself I wasn't. You know, those two schools didn't really care too much for each other, and some of the boys were in rival gangs, and but it ended up being one of the best experiences of my life. We ended up winning the championship, made the playoffs for, I think, the first time 17 years, and the kids just bought in, and I really have to congratulate or bring up the fact that Brad Zuby did a heck of a job. He was my defensive coordinator, and he was very much a factor in why we were successful. In fact, he took over after I left, and he won another championship. So,
great, that's great. And Paul, you
Another Romeo man, too.
Yep, that's right.
And you, down there in Pontiac, and you, Paul, you left the Romeo program. You got recruited to go to Eisenhower. How did this happen?
It's some things were happening out here in Romeo and everything, and I just so happened to was friends with Terry Capacia, and got me talking with Bob Lancey and everything, and it's just something that worked out.
And what was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was one of my better experiences for me to mature as a football coach. I mean, I still think, I've been blessed to be around some great mentors in that and this gentleman here with me was one that got me started and all that, and Bob Lancey was another one, and eventually, he got me coordinating the defense and everything. So it was a great experience for me personally.
And I remember Gary Parmentier, another guy that came over from Romeo to Eisenhower, and he was a treat to be with there too. Gary has some great stories out there. But then you went to Ford for a little stint.
Yeah, I went to Ford for 3 years with Terry went over there, and that was a great experience. I mean, to be around a kid, this Craig Krenzel kid that went on to
he just won a national championship.
Yeah, he just went to some other. He went to the other college.
Yeah, that other college.
And that was a good experience. But then the door opened up for me to come back to Romeo when Greg was coaching, and so I was able to jump on that, and that's been a real treat. So,
well, as we go way back into time, I mean, what was Romeo football like back in the 70s and 80s? We didn't. I was doing coming to some of the Eisenhower games because I graduated from there in the 80s, but I didn't really know that closely. But what was some of the games like in the 80s for the Romeo Bulldogs?
Well, Romeo, as far back as I can remember, has always had a great football tradition. The community is very supportive and loves the game. I had a couple of uncles who played for Dan Barnable, and they were always very successful back then. And then comparing today with then is kind of like an analogy with cars. I would say Edsel compared to a Lamborghini.
That's quite a wide range there.
I mean, it was much different. Most of our coaches were volunteers, and sometimes you'd have them at practice, and sometimes they wouldn't be able to make it, and it was a struggle. And
a lot less technology too.
No, we didn't have.
Back in
we didn't have any display.
The biggest, the only you had a film, like a film projector and
16 millimeter.
Well, yeah. I remember when I first started, I was coaching freshmen, and I got to do the video training, which would involve picking up the film, taking it down to center line, and then go back on Sunday and picking it up. So,
yeah, it's not, you just didn't have it in your computer and just pull it up.
No, didn't have that.
Didn't even have computers.
No.
And Paul, that's true. And Paul, what's the difference in your eyes that you see coaching now, the players now, and then when you played and coaching back in the 80s?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is a lot of the technology and everything. I mean, the kids are watching the same things that we watch every day. This huddle software that a lot of people are using has really changed a lot. And, so the knowledge that these kids pick up nowadays in that of getting prepared for an opponent is 10 times better than what we used to have.
Yeah, it's the same in business. And, well, if we stay with football, you look at the college game day, you look at the analyzation on the cable news and the online stuff you can get. I mean, it's unbelievable the games you can see.
Got all this analytics now and all those things that, didn't exist.
Never had that.
Didn't exist.
Shoot.
Yeah, you guys are back in the day, hit them high, hit them low, if they get up, hit them again.
Exactly.
So you had the chance to coach some great players and probably maybe some of them that come to mind when I say great players coming through Romeo, and even Eisenhower, Ford, or Pontiac that you can remember that maybe touched you kind of.
I mean, I'll kind of stick with the Romeo. I think Darrell Ives, we would both agree was.
Yeah, because I played with Darrell.
Darrell was a
special guy.
He was a running back who was probably 6'2", 190.
Easily 190.
Probably ran. Of course, we didn't time people back then. I would guess he was probably a 4 or 5 kid.
Yeah.
And he would run over you as well as away from you.
Is he the type of kid you would hook up to the plow and have him do the field instead of the mule?
I tell you, he was a thoroughbred. That's all I.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Joe Brewer, another great back. Had a lot of people looking at him, and unfortunately blew his knee out playing in the Silverdome.
Yeah,
But-
Joe's a successful businessman right now.
Joe was a very successful businessman. I just paid him about $14,000 for a generator. So.
Couldn't give,
I'm
didn't-
help-
and you got the coach's discount.
That's my way of giving back, you know.
Who else?
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh man, I just remember guys like Phil Webb.
Yeah.
Played at Michigan.
Went to Michigan and played. Mike Bruner. He a young man that he played middle linebacker for us his senior year. Went to Central, got hurt, and moved to center, and was just an unbelievable player. And he's another guy that's done a lot for Romeo football. In that,
As you guys think about it, what was funnest times for you coaching football? What really, maybe 2 or 3 moments that you can think of?
I know one story we always laugh about was when we drew Saginaw with Lamar Woodley in the game. And, people justifiably, I guess, were saying, don't even bother getting on the bus. There's no reason to drive all that way. You're just going to get killed anyway. So we had a good week of practice, and I jokingly had told a couple of the black kids on the team, if you guys can beat Saginaw, I'll wear a do-rag to practice on Monday.
They got
And-
excited about that.
Well, they beat them.
Oh, hey.
And on Monday, I
You
had
had
the
the-
do-rag.
yeah, he did.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
Well, and to continue on with his story of Saginaw, this is what started the Four Corners. And that was that game when back in town, the kids got off the bus and sang the fight song for the first time. And which has been just an unbelievable tradition that he started.
Yeah, we
So
the parents, as we came into town, the kids would put the bus windows down and start to sing the fight song. And parents would be along the highway there in town, and they'd flash the lights and honk the horn and this and that. After we beat Saginaw and drove back into town, I mean, it was just jammed at the Four Corners. So I said to Lynn Plotz, who was driving the bus, I said, pull it over and let these guys sing with them. And that's where it started.
and it was,
And those are important things as traditions getting started. I can appreciate them myself, and being over at Eisenhower for so many years, and how some things got started through the TV, and they play the fight song now all the time, and so kids know the words to that in the stands. So
right.
it's when I was going there, we heard it. And
when I was there, we didn't know it. I mean,
yeah. And then eventually, as they got into the dome a few times, and
In looking back, I think that Saginaw game was kind of the turning point for our, not only our football program, but all of them.
the program in general.
Yeah, because our kids, we'd always been decent, won district champions and whatnot, but I don't think the kids ever believed that they could compete at that level. And once they did, then we had hockey state champions and volleyball state champions and football state champions, and they knew they belonged.
Once you sort of
Get
get over that hump,
Exactly. Yeah.
that happens. A lot easier. It's a lot easier for the kids to believe then. Let's talk a little bit about this coaching staff that you're with now. Now you guys are the, what did Kurt say? The elder statesmen. What's it like to coach with these guys? These younger guys that
go
you
ahead.
coach with
Well,
now.
I mean, it's just, I think one of the, we go back to me looking at some of the changes that have gone on in football is when I played, my coaches were all high school teachers, and now we're getting in where people are coming from all over because they just don't have the teachers that do it anymore, I think this is as good of a coaching staff that I've been a part of. The guys work, they care about the young men that we coach. And, young ladies, and and it's it's a lot of work, and that's the other thing that's changed in this game. The work that you have to put in as a coach to keep up to date with everything, and to compete in one of the best conferences in the state of Michigan.
So much information out there that you just trying to assimilate it all and go through it all. I mean, it's not just football. I mean, in Major League Baseball, there's so many statistics and analytics, and it could drive you nuts. Look, it'd be like, can you hit somebody or can't you hit? Can you run?
Right.
And this is where me and him got it's to us it's still a simple game.
Yeah.
Because it still comes down to all that. But man, and then for me to have him come back this year and coach, and the guy that got me all started and all this stuff, it's just been a thrill. And Greg is handling all of our special teams, and we're pretty damn good at it right now.
Yeah, you've got a nice field goal kicker. Your punter's pretty good. You're good coverage downfield.
Until Friday night,
Well, you had one that broke, but as I was watching it for the kickoff return you're talking about with Jerry Hansen of Anchor Bay, as I was watching it from upstairs, and maybe you saw it on the film, I saw about 2 or 3 blocks in the back that could have been called. But they didn't. I sound like a Lions fan, don't I?
The crazy thing was we kicked a number 10 originally.
Yep.
And, he somewhat of a nice return. So everybody on the sideline is telling me, don't kick it to number 10, don't kick it to number 10. So I told the kicker, I said, okay, kick it to 22 over in the corner, which he did exactly as instructed. 10 ran over behind him, caught the ball, and everybody told you not to kick it to 10.
It's not like those little electronic football things where they just stay in the spot. What about this team this year? Interesting start, 0-2, and lost close games that could have possibly been won there in the last few minutes. And then they rip off 3 big victories in a row. Talk a little bit about this year's team.
Now, from my perspective, it's kind of a challenge because I don't know the boys very well for the most part. I had Burrow's dad and a few things like that. But for the most part, it's been a challenge for me just learning them and getting to know them and so forth. But the thing that has impressed me is their grit. They don't give up. They play hard. And, in hindsight, I think probably we lost those first couple of games because of our mistakes more so than, what the other teams did. But like I say, I'm just very impressed with their work ethic and how they go about things and approach their work and accept coaching.
Yeah. What about you, Paul? What are your thoughts on this year's team?
For one thing, it doesn't surprise me at all because I've been here long enough to know what these young men do out here in Romeo. And believe me, it bothered everybody on that football team. You could just see the work at practice start to pick up. And that, it's getting the kids out of that frame of mind that, hey, if I work hard, play hard, and let's just go out there and play and see what happens. But and they do, and we are so.
We were down on Caledonia. Had you down 21-7, and the kids didn't give up. They just hung in there, kept coming.
I think a really good example of what they're all about was when we dropped the punt on our 5-yard line. Yeah. Would have been very easy for the defense to say, go ahead, walk it in. Well, they didn't let them in.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't let them in.
Goal line stand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even the same thing at Stevenson,
Now, that was the one that gave Paul a heart attack. He had pain there in the chest when.
Well, I called my cardiologist and thanked him for everything he did.
I mean, down, with 13 seconds left and coming back and getting it into overtime, and then a little heart attack on overtime because it was 4th and 1, and everybody knew in the place who was going to get the football.
Right.
you know, the kid that's hard to tackle, and he comes in there and we stuff him.
Yeah, even that whole series, even that third down play, you know, and you're about to talk to a couple kids here that, you know, we had a young quarterback man there that didn't have his best game, but he showed you what a competitor he is. And, you know, defensively, we've been struggling the last couple games, and you know, these kids started picking up the pace and everything. And like I say, it's just, you know, we have this thing that we talk about, drawing a line in the sand. And I think it's one of the little phrases that Coach Reines came up with that has made a big difference in that. And we're something that we're rallying behind, and these seniors are stepping up. So,
well, this week coming up, you have Dakota. I'm not going to ask you to say anything about the game because everybody knows what's at stake, and then everybody knows what a tough place it is to play there. You know, when you go into Dakota and they got their fans there, and it's going to be a loud, you know, ruckus there.
Yeah, I just saw today it's supposedly their homecoming game. So
yeah, no,
that's
just
beautiful.
That's just another added momentum thing for them. But, fellas, I want to thank you for stopping by the Romeo Sports Recap and joining us here today, and hopefully we'll maybe we can talk at the end of the season. You can tell me a little bit about your assessments about what happened during the 2023 Romeo football season.
Well, thank you for having us, and we enjoyed it.
And,
Right.
and thank you for what you do for high school football in this community.
You're welcome. And with that, Greg Ganfield, Paul Murphy, right here on the Sports Recap Show for Romeo. Before we continue here on the Romeo Sports Recap Show, a word from our sponsors. This podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. They can get you access to equipment, a production engineer, and even edit your podcast. That's all right here at the Mitt TV of Romeo. And you can contact them right now via email at mitt.tvromeo@gmail.com. That's mitt.tv@gmail.com. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to the Romeo Sports Recap Show. I'm here with Romeo players quarterback Caden Burrows and defensive back Ryan Rillier, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So you guys, you're 3-2 on the year. You won 3 straight in a row. You started off 0-2. Close games. Caledonia, Roseville. Games where maybe probably could have won those
Oh yeah.
in the last minute and felt so much. What was the mood of the team and after those 2 losses as you're going to go to game 3?
We were hungry. I mean, we came off the first game. I mean, it came down to the last play, and could have definitely beat them. Beatable team, and that was we just had to get everybody together, everybody working, you know, everybody doing their job.
How about you, Kay? What your impression of that?
Yeah, I agree with them. I think it was nice after those first 2 weeks that it was Watchdog. Emotions were high for everyone. I think that played a big factor in that game. So,
And what do you attribute the 3-game winning streak to?
I'd say to the players. I mean, everybody was hungry after that, and people don't like losing, but none of our teammates like losing, and it's kind of a wake-up call, you know, kind of set the tone.
Kind of like, yeah, work too hard to accept
Yeah.
that.
I mean, all the summer workouts and everything, and all that work just to lose the first 2 games, and I think it was definitely anger, a lot of anger, and not beating ourselves up, but just we knew we could do better. And
Well, 0-2, you're at Sterling Heights Stevenson. They're pressuring the heck out of your quarterback. But then they go ahead the last minute. And you guys have maybe a chance. It's 13 seconds left. You need 3 points to tie it, and you're on your own 38-yard line. Okay, now you hit DJ Phillips over the middle, but I want you to tell me how that play came about. Did you see him? Did you call it? How did it happen?
Yeah, he was on a seam down the middle, but I saw that safety come down a little bit, and I knew he could beat him by. So I think I saw that as soon as that safety came down, he was going to be open.
So and he fired it out there. Do you think he was going to score?
I thought he had a chance, but he was still dealing with a little injury, so I knew he was not full. But
so you got the field goal, you tied it up, you go into overtime. You score a touchdown on a pass to Jake Watson. Sort of a fade, I guess, or you kind of threw it up there. And I was standing on that sideline right there and I'm watching this pass, and I go, there's no way he can get this ball and stay in bounds. But he must have jumped out of the gym.
Oh, yeah.
To get that, and then to keep his feet in bounds. Talk a little bit about him.
He's a nice guy to have. I've been playing with him for a long time, since we were really little in Romeo Junior Bulldogs, and we've developed a great friendship together. So he's been nice to have on our team.
So you had great confidence that he was going to come down, because I wasn't so sure, and I'm watching it's coming at me. But then Ryan, talk a little bit about you had to stop Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
As Coach Murphy said, on third down and fourth down, big plays that happened. Talk a little bit about that 4th and 1 from the goal line. Everybody in the stadium knows who's going to get the ball for Stevenson. What was going through your mind at that time when Stevenson was lined up ready to go?
Well, as Coach Murphy mentioned before, Ryan has talked to us about drawing a line in the sand, and we knew it was going to come down to us. I mean, we had the offense. I mean, it had to come down to the defense. We had to make a stop, and they scored. They get the ball back. We make a stop, and we win the game, and that's what happened.
Who made that tackle?
Big part of it was Gavin Wardowski. He's pretty good. He's a senior D-line.
Yeah,
he's been making some pretty good plays on the backfield for us.
And when you stopped him, and did time seem to stop for you?
Oh, it was. I've never been more happy. I mean, it was.
I mean, you heard Coach Murray. He gave him a heart attack. He had to see his cardiologist on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm surprised he was even watching. I mean.
What did Coach say to you after that game?
He was just proud of us. I mean, it's what he was talking about, drawing the line in the sand, and it's what we did. I mean, had to come down to us. Had to make a stop, and that's what we did.
And that had to lift you guys up as you're going through the next week in practice. And then you got Eisenhower, who had beat Chippewa Valley with their potent offense. So what was the defensive plan going into that game?
I mean, we had to work our butts off. I mean, we knew our Ike's offense was going to be tough to stop. I mean, we shut down the run pretty quick. I mean, they were making a few passes here and there, but I mean, I feel like we overall shut them down pretty well. You know, had a good week in practice before and knew what we were up against.
And then, Caden, you came back and played a pretty good game there, and you found a new target, Brody Meyer. Where did he come from? He was hurt a little earlier, or did you?
Now that Ben's been dealing with a little injury, and he's stepped up a lot for us. It's been really nice to have him as a replacement. He's very quick, and he sees the field very well, so it's been nice to have him.
And you were a little bit more comfortable, it seemed like. Did Eisenhower not blitz you as much, or did you have a different game plan in case they did?
They weren't bringing as much pressure. We were keeping a running back sometimes in to help with blocking and things like that, so it was nice to have that.
And Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay comes in after that big Eisenhower win, and you know they held on in Chippewa Valley and only lost by 1 point, and they've got some powerful offensive weapons. Number 10, Jerry Hansen, the quarterback, LaFear, and then the running back, Domi. And he's got to be a load to bring down. It's 6'1" and 260. It's listed as 260. Yeah. I don't know. You felt it, not me. A little bit about the defensive plan and scheme going into that game because of those offensive weapons.
Well, we knew we had to stop 44. I mean, he was their main guy. And I feel like we did a pretty good job containing him. I mean, he's a big kid. I mean, I felt all of his 240 and a few plays. And I mean that one play in the beginning where he just, I mean, I'll be honest, he ran through our defense. Brendan Rivetto ended up making tackles, saved our butts. But I think that play, we had to step our game up after that. I mean, go lower on him, get him.
It's definitely a technique tackling that type of a big man. I mean,
Yeah.
You can't hit him chest to chest.
No.
Chances are he's going to win that 90% of the time. You had a very balanced offensive attack, 350 yards, half on offense, half on defense. You hit Brody Meyer again. And then you also had a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to DJ Phillips. And kind of walk us through that play. What did you see as you got the football?
Dropping back, the linebacker was starting to drop back on the fade, and then Jake cut in on his dig route, and DJ became wide open in the end zone. So
yeah, he was very wide open. And you also had, I mean, throughout the year you've had a field goal kicker that can kick from 40, 45 yards pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. What is that like to have a player like that? Is it a sort of an added dimension on your team?
He's a great guy to have. He's a very good kicker, and knowing like if we're inside 30, 35-yard line that he can put one in, it's nice.
And Ryan, I mean, he's not big. He's only a sophomore. You guys don't pick on him or take him out with you, do you?
No, yeah, we're very thankful to have a guy who he can bail us out. I mean, game's on the line and we're down by 3. He can tie the score up real quick. And
yes, it seems like he has a first player in a long time that I've seen that has a real good explosion in his leg when he hits the ball. So Joey Seeley, good health to you, because we may need you for the big kick in these close games that we're having. And then, of course, if you could maybe give me your thoughts. So a guy that's been kind of helping you guys, sort of leading the carries and offense for running back and then tackles, like on defense, Victor Earl. What does he mean to your team?
He's a big part of our team. I mean, he's been a great teammate to have, always pumping guys up in practice. I mean, and makes big plays, and he's just good teammate, good guy to have on the team.
Yeah, he's always bringing guys up. If energy's ever down, he's always there to pick guys up, so he's really nice to have.
And how about that 65-yard touchdown run he had against Anchor Bay? Did you think he was going to go all the way?
I didn't have a doubt. I mean, I've seen him do some pretty good things on the field, and that's just another play for him.
Once I saw him get to the sideline, I knew he had it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely he definitely gets a lot of snaps, and I don't know how he does it, because he tires me out watching him.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan, a little bit about some of your defensive mates, guys that you think are really doing a great job this year.
I think a lot of it goes to our D-line. I mean, Brendan Rivetto, he's a senior on the D-line, and he's just been he's been a dog. He's been just making play after play after play and bailing me out a lot of times. And Gavin Wardowski, he's been doing a great job, again, great penetration on, like, short plays when we need to stop. And another guy, Darion Foster, he locked up their best guy, number 10, and didn't let him. I think he only got a few catches. But
yeah, it's 2 good games in a row. He had 2 interceptions against Eisenhower. He's really coming on strong at
he's
cornerback.
On fire, and really thankful to have a guy like that. And our safeties too, Alex Kelly. I mean, he's a nice guy back there to have, nice and tall.
And a pick against Anchor Bay.
Oh yeah.
And Caden, how about on offense, guys? Besides Victor, guys that are coming through for you.
The O-line has really been great. Danny Albert, Carter Vu, Jackson Rice, all of them. Brody Giacona, he's a sophomore that's playing on the O-line on Varsity, so props to him for doing that. I mean, not a lot of kids would probably do that. So he's been very good to have. DJ, everyone, all the weapons around me. So it's been nice to have those guys.
Well, you're a weapon into yourself, too, because I don't know if you watched the Monday night game, Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, but you saw Jalen Hurt line up and do the Caden Burrow, where he just takes the ball and gets pushed through. And what when that play's going on, I mean, what are you thinking? You know, hope somebody pushes you, or what do you just?
It's really just pick a side and put your head down and just hope for the best.
Anybody talk to you out there at all when you do that?
There's little chirps here and there, but
no. We got Dakota next week. Your thoughts about going in there? You guys probably have seen more film than I have on them. What kind of chances do you think we got going into that game?
I think we got a great chance. I mean, we know they're a great football team, but we've been having a good week of practice. I mean, Monday we're locked in, laser focused. I mean, we know what we're up against. We know the skills that we have. We're confident going into the game.
I agree with him. Tough pace to play, obviously, but I think we'll be ready. We'll be good.
And they're not going to be happy because they lost their crosstown rival Chippewa Valley, so they're good. They probably didn't feed them all this week, and like the Romans did in the Coliseum. Don't feed the animals; they'll be hungry.
Yeah,
you know. But well, we wish you the best of luck there. What are your plans, Ryan? After high school, do you plan on playing anymore? Do you plan on going to school somewhere?
Hopefully, play some college football if I get a nice scholarship. You know, study business somewhere. We'll see where that takes me after the season, but.
How about you, Caden?
Kind of in the same boat. If I can get an offer to play college football, I'd love to, but if not, probably go into business.
Both you guys, and I'm are into the want to get into the business world in sales, management, accounting, what?
Sales. We have a nice program at Romeo High School. You know, we have an entrepreneurship class. It gets a good taste of what it's like. You know.
Kind of go in the same boat, sales probably, and I'm in the entrepreneurship class as well, so it's nice to see how it is.
And how's your grandfather doing, by the way?
He's doing good.
He sat up there at the Michigan game with me, and yeah, when threw that touchdown pass, I thought he was going to slap the heck out of me. But anyway, well, fellas, thanks for being on the Romeo Sports Recap Show. Appreciate it, and best of luck this week and the rest of the season for the Romeo Bulldogs.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to this episode of the Romeo Sports Recap Show, powered by the Mitt TV. Remember, this show is available on both YouTube and Spotify. You can subscribe to the Mitt TV YouTube page and click the notification bell to stay up to date on the latest episodes of the Romeo Sports Recap. Or you can find us on Spotify and follow our podcast, Romeo Sports Recap. From the Mitt TV, I'm Tim Meyer here with Madison Janabet, signing off with a final word from our sponsors. This podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. They can get you access to equipment, a production engineer, and even edit your podcast. That's all right here at the Mitt TV of Romeo. And you can contact them right now via email at mitt.tvromeo@gmail.com. That's mitt.tv@gmail.com.